Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here, got another Master Duel video for you. So, we're going to be coming back to Mannadium. Mannadium is a deck that, if I recall correctly, we did actually cover earlier in the season. I believe it was within the first couple of days. And if I had known that the deck was going to be getting some new support, I definitely would have waited a little bit before I covered it. But that's okay, we can definitely just do so now. And, yeah, I gotta say, after playing with this deck in Master Rank, I haven't been playing Ladder much since hitting Master because I've been either playing in or practicing for the Challenger Cups. But, yeah, I took this build of Mannadium to Master, and I'll be the first to tell you I'm far from an expert in this deck. In fact, I would definitely love to get some more practice with it, so that way I can feel a lot more confident in my plays when I do play this deck. I think for me, one of the main things that makes Mannadium a little bit difficult for me to play is that as the deck has gotten more support, the combo lines feel much less linear and a lot more open. So, really, I just need to take that step where I'm not trying to reference like spreadsheets or combo guides anymore when making my plays, and just kind of like going for it, right? Like knowing what to do without having to feel like I'm following a line in my head necessarily. And honestly, the new VODS Samsara definitely makes the deck feel a lot less linear in that way. So VODS Samsara is a really interesting card, right? Like, it doesn't necessarily open up like brand new combo lines by itself. Indeed, even if you open VODS Samsara and no other gas, it's not really any plays you got off of that, not any significant ones anyway. VODS Samsara, however, is a great extender for multiple reasons. One, just being the fact that it's a VODS that you can normal summon is huge. The fact that it's also VODS Starfrost while in your graveyard, equally huge. It makes the Vicious Astrolabe much easier to make. But not only that, it also gives you the option of pulling a level 4 tuner back off of the Bestial Dissipator instead of necessarily VODS Starfrost. Being a level 4 tuner that can also optionally be treated as a non-tuner is pretty big for certain lines, right? Namely for making level 8 synchros. I don't really have too many of those in this build, but if, for example, you wanted to make like the Omega, right? Cyframe Lord Omega, you could do the double hand rip much more easily now. Excuse me, sorry about that. The double hand rip being you make the Cyframe Lord Omega use its effects, rip a card from your opponent's hand, Dissipator, bring it back, and then do that again. It is something the deck was capable of doing before, but again, the Samsara makes it much easier to do so now. Let's see here. The build overall hasn't really changed too much aside from adding the Samsara. Excuse me, I'm just gonna take a drink real quick. So I think that, as far as how many copies of this card you need to play, right, the Samsara, you don't need 3. You don't necessarily need 3. I opted for a full playset just to see how I like the card, to test out how I feel about it in the deck overall. And I think moving forward, I'll still use a playset just to, again, continue to get a feel of how many copies I really want. But it's a card that is pretty variable, honestly, as far as like how far it'll carry you in any given game. So I can see a world where we go down to 2 copies. Abscission is a card we could definitely cut down on, right? I'm playing 2, but again, as this deck gets more support, it just becomes less and less reliant on doing the combo line with this spell card in particular. So really, I could see going down to 1, and that would be completely fine. I guess the main reason I'm talking about cutting cards right now is that I would like to ideally fit a couple more hand traps in this deck, or maybe like a couple of triple attacks. I mean, it's something I've been going on and on and on about all season, but really, it's playing Snake Eyes as, I mean, really Super Heavy Samurai before that, to really open my eyes to how important in Best of One it is to make as much of your, not necessarily as much of your deck, but to get your deck as close to 50% engine, 50% disruption as possible, if it is in fact possible. There are some decks where it's just not. But if you are able to get in a position like that, then you will have a much greater chance of, well, just winning in a best of one format in general, right? Where the coin flip does end up mattering quite a bit more. So I think if, again, I'd probably put in either Veilers or triple attacks if I had room for a couple more cards. And I can see myself, again, going down to 2 Samsara, 1 Abscission. You could cut Imaginings if you really want to, but I think this card is great. This card has helped me unbrick so many hands, honestly. You could also cut Pearl Rhino if you want to, but I actually like the Pearl Rhino Not even for, like, the fact that it, of course, searches Visas, but also you can potentially grab it off of Armatera in some combo lines to search a Visas. But on top of that, there are some hands where you'll just, like, open by playing Pearl Rhino, and your opponent will Ash Blossom it because they think you're on tier limit, and they're just like, cool. Anyway, normal summon Rimheart. And it's like, it's such a nice bait, honestly, that I do have a bit of a time accepting the idea of letting it go out of the build. Now, if you didn't want to play more hand traps, which is also valid, you could play more extenders. You could play the Kashira package of Finrear and Scareclaw Cash and Raitsoff to get a lot of nice extra bodies there. The Scareclaw Cash, of course, also being good for going into Lightheart to get plays going there as well. But again, I think I'm in a position with the build right now where we have enough gas, I think. We could just use a little bit more hand traps. And again, I think cutting the optional extenders, or extenders that aren't even necessarily guaranteed to be useful in a line, let alone cards that don't really do much by themselves, like Samsara and Obsession, I think is what I would cut to make room for that kind of a card there. You could also go down to 2 Rykart, but I really like having a playset of it. Because Rykart by itself is on a line, but it is a 3-mat Appaloosa, if I recall correctly. Because you can normal the Rykart, add a rival, link it for Lightheart, Lightheart add Ryphobia, Ryphobia to add the Visas there, because then you could rival back the Rykart, special the Visas by popping the Lightheart, Lightheart comes back to the field, sync, or actually you wouldn't sync there, you could make that, well, in any case, there is the line there, I would just need to actually play it out to figure it out. Doing it off the top of my head, again, with a deck I'm not as familiar with, is a little bit more difficult, but, yeah, extra deck here I haven't changed up really at all. No, I think I did actually. I took out, I took out Excel Stardust to make room for Chaos Angel, because I was having a time deciding between Chaos Angel and Sword Soul Supreme Sovereign Sheng Ying, and I decided to ultimately just play both. You could also play the Ice Jade level 10 Synchro. It's very, very good in this deck as well. I just don't have a copy of it. And also, as I mentioned, Samsara, pretty good at making level 8 Synchros, so those become more viable for this deck to do, particularly the Ciphering Lord Omega, again, to get the double hand rip, if you so choose. But, yeah, I think that's about all I have to say about the build so far. Let's break it down card by card, and then, yeah, after that, we'll look at some we'll look at some games. Well, we'll do combos in those games, but you know what I mean. Alright, so we are on, we got 3 Maxi, 3 Mannadium Meek, 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 3 Scareclaw Rykart, 3 Mannadium Rimheart, 3 Visas Samsara, 2 Visas Starfrost, 1 Nibiru the Primal Being, 1 Reinforcement of the Army, 2 Scareclaw Rival, 1 Mannadium Imagining, so we have 2 Mannadium Abscission, 2 Primitive Planet Ryphobia, 1 Peaceful Planet Pearl Rhino, 3 Peaceful, Primeval Planet Pearl Rhino, 3 Peaceful Planets Calarium, 2 Call by the Grave, 1 Cross-Out Designator, 3 Infinite Impermanence, and then 1 Mannadium Reframing. That's going to do it for our 40-card main deck. For the extra deck, we're on 2 Vicious Astrolaud, 1 Mannadium Trisukta, 1 Visas Armatera. We have 1 Baron de Fleur, 1 Sword Soul Supreme Sovereign Sheng Ying, 1 Bestial Dispater, 1 Chaos Angel, 1 Crimson Dragon, 2 Scareclaw Lightheart, 1 IP Masquerena. We have 1 Cross Sheep, 1 Sprite Elf, and then 1 Appaloosa Bow of the Goddess. And that'll do it for the list. Let's see these games. Okay, our first opponent's playing Lab. I was noticing going through these games that we played against a lot of trap decks. But we still managed to win a fair bit in spite of that. In fact, in spite of, again, feeling like I'm not the best Mannadium player at all, I actually managed to rank up almost 2 ranks. We started at the bottom of Master 5 and ended up one win away from Master 3 right now, so that's pretty cool. Anyway, I'm going to Rhoda for Rimheart here at the start. Even though I already have Rykart in hand, Rimheart is just the ideal opening. Unfortunately, the Rykart and Ryphobia in hand don't really offer much extension, because our combo line with Rimheart searches those out anyway. So we're effectively seeing the 1-card combo line with Rimheart as the line for our first game here, right? I'll go to Amritera for the Peaceful Planet Calarium here. I can then link off the Amritera for the Scareclaw Lightheart. Lightheart will, of course, add Ryphobia. If my opponent was going to Ash Blossom me, I really was hoping that it was there, or here, I guess, rather. So I'm going to add the Visas off the Ryphobia because I already have Rykart in hand. And then I'm going to use the Calarium, which I would normally use to add Vises, to just get a spare Rim Heart instead. Not even necessarily just for follow-up plays. Rim Heart can potentially pop a card on the field and special itself during this turn too, if that ends up being useful. It probably won't be, but, you know, you never know. Or again, even if I don't use it now, I can use it for a follow-up line. So, definitely want to bring back the Light Heart while you have Vises in play. Either way, then you can link it off here with the Vises in order to make the Cross Sheep. Now, very important, if you make Cross Sheep first and then Synchro, you gotta not activate the effect. You have to wait until you Fusion Summon. Because Cross Sheep is a once per turn effect, so if you special a Synchro, you can't gain the attack buff and then later summon a Fusion and then summon a level 4. They all happen at once per turn, so gotta make sure you're being careful about that, definitely. Alright, here I'm going to make the Sprite Elf. You definitely don't need to play Sprite Elf in IP. You could do the combo line like very slightly differently and just make the 3-mat Appaloosa instead. But as I mentioned in the last Mannadium video, I like going for Elf plus Masquerena because a lot of the time it can bait removal out of your opponent, or sometimes it can even bait them into going into the battle phase when it's really not good for them to do so. So I feel like trading a potential monster negate for a more nuanced way of disrupting with Elf and or IP is worth the extra deck slots that it takes. But I will say the extra deck slots is the main reason why I've considered not going for this line. Here the opponent threatened to end main and go straight to battle phase, so I'm going to make an Appaloosa now. I imagine they're probably going to try to evenly me. I have the Baron de Fleur, but if they have like a second evenly or something, I'm probably just going to leave the Appaloosa here, because it represents multiple monster negates, unlike Dissipator, who only represents the one, right? Thankfully, no second evenly or anything like that from the Labyrinth player. They're going to set 2 cards and then pass. Top decking another Rim Heart, which I definitely don't need. I'm going to target their back row with skill, or Baron, only to get hit with a skill drain here. That will reduce my Appaloosa's attack to 0, which is a little bit annoying. I really don't want to have to deal with the skill drain, or ideally the other back row. And I don't think my Baron has used the Omni Negate effect, right? And I'd like to have that live. So what I did here is I summoned Astrolabe in defense mode, then set Rim Heart to pop the skill drain. But I don't know if that was necessarily the best play. Also, no. It was actually a fine play. The misplay I made was I summoned Vises in defense mode. Because I think I summoned that off of, yeah, Dissipator. There's no reason for me to put it in defense mode. I would have represented lethal otherwise. Although, to be fair, they had a welcome lab for an Ariana here anyway, so it didn't really matter. Definitely gonna, let's see, what do they add off the Ariana there? Let me take a look at that here. The gates didn't activate, then we activate pop the skill drain. They labs. Oh, they didn't even get to add. Oh, that's right. They didn't add because I could have Misshield Dissipated, destroyed the Ariana, and then done direct damage. So I think that's why they chose not to add off the Ariana there. But yeah, last play from them is going to be this Stovey during my main phase 2. We have a call by, and it looks like they're not going to have really much more disruption after that. So yeah, that's a basic turn 1 combo line with Mannadium if all you open is the Rim Heart. Or, in my case, you could also open Reich Heart and Reichphobia as well, but again, those are not extenders in pretty much any combo line, not with Rim Heart by itself. So, let's see the next duel here. Okay, another Labyrinth deck. Again, a lot of trap decks this video. We're playing against a build here that's utilizing the Resonator package. So they're on the Soul Resonator, the Crimson Gaia. They're actually also playing the Vision Resonator and Fiendish Golem I saw in there as well. So, oh, okay, so this hand, actually I'll pause for just a second here to talk about it. So, well, actually I'll show you. I ended up leading up with the Reichphobia, but I wonder if I should have just normal summoned Samsara instead. So if I normal summoned Vises Samsara, I would have linked it into Lightheart, add Reichphobia, which I already had in my hand. Activate, add Reichheart. Oh, no, I already had Reichheart in my hand. No, I had Reichphobia, never mind. I would have added the Reichheart, specialed it, linked for, what's it called? Cross Sheep, gone into Astrolabe. No, that would have not, well, no, okay, wait, I could have linked into Cross Sheep. I could have arrivaled back the Samsara, brought back the Lightheart, then made Astrolabe. No, but then I still wouldn't have a level 4 Allura monster to bring back off a Cross Sheep. Okay, so Yeah, I don't think that would have actually gotten me that many more plays anyway. I mean, it might have been better than what I had to do here, which was, you know, to light heart pass, basically, but at least my lack of a board was really good into their evenly here. Another lab deck with an evenly here. Surprisingly, the RES is going to summon out Lovely Lab. So basically what I had to do here, I'm trying to pause less in videos lately, but I want to explain this, because Ash Blossom against Ariana might look really weird there. But the reason I ashed Ariana is because my opponent already summoned the Lovely Lab. In fact, I think they probably shouldn't have started with that. I think they should have started by normal summoning the Ariana, because by specialing the Lovely Lab, they've telegraphed that I'm not going to be able to use Ash Blossom against their normal traps because of her first effect. So now instead, I'm going to Ash Blossom to negate the Ariana that would add the trap card that I'm not able to Ash Blossom, if that makes sense. But if my opponent had led with Ariana normal summon and then Ariest, then I would have not used Ash, because I would have waited for the Welcome Trap, and then they would have had the Lovely up and not been able, I wouldn't have been able to Ash the Welcome Trap card. Oh, they're on a little bit of an Unchained package as well. I forgot about that, because they were going into the Yama here, adding Sharvara, and then popping the face down transaction rollback, summon out Sharvara, linking that off with Yama to make the Unchained Soul of Rage as another disruption point. And then Lovely gets to reset the transaction rollback here. I'm not really scared of the transaction rollback, though. All that's in here is an evenly, so it's like, whatever, you know? I'm going to lead with normal summon Rimheart. Even though I do have some other options here, I'm actually going to go into Trisukta first. I'm going to try to keep a Synchro on the field as much as possible because I have a reframing down. They made this really easy for me, though, and they just shotgun the Soul of Rage right away, so I can just reframing right away. And at this point, I'm not really scared of anything else my opponent's going to do. I already know the back row is transaction rollback, which can only go for evenly. And actually, yeah, my opponent just concedes here, because they know as well there is not really much of anything else that they can do at this point. Yeah, so that was pretty cool. Another game where we had to play through an evenly. But again, at the very, it's funny because there are so many decks that would have wrecked our board of Lightheart, Set Mannadium, Reframing, Pass. But Lab actually ended up being a pretty good matchup. Not only because they end up basically wasting their evenly on our nothing board, but also on top of that, they are not able to OT Chaos on the crackback, which many other decks would have done there. But yeah, let's take a look at our next duel here. And continuing on our theme of playing against trap decks, our next opponent is on a Layer of Darkness stun deck. And we are going second this time. A little bit scarier when the trap deck gets to go first. We did open C and Ash, so there is that. Opponent's got a Prosperity. I decided not to Ash it just to see what they were on. Crimson Gaia, Soul Resonator, Book of Eclipse, Super Poly, another Book of Eclipse, and a Lilith. So I knew they were on some kind of shenanigans here. I thought at first it was going to be a regular Resonator deck. Actually, up until I saw the last card. I'm definitely going to Ash Boss on the Crimson Gaia here, though, for sure. I don't like using Ash on Prosperity. It's my experience that pretty much every deck that plays Prosperity also plays a better Ash target, so... Ugh, this Lilith here is going to be pretty brutal, setting the destructive Durima Karma Cannon, as well as 3 other back row from hand, so yikes. Gonna lead with the Pearl Rhino here, see if they negate that. They don't, which I kind of expected. But after I add Visus, they go for the Soul of the Supreme King. Paying 4k to summon out Zark. I'm definitely going to fire off the Max C in response. Probably one of the few chances I'll get to use Max C this game. And of course, you just draw another copy anyway, so that's good. Now, I have no clue what this was all about. I was really worrying about this Karma Cannon, and my opponent just, like, played it anyway. I don't know why they thought popping Pearl Rhino was so important. Like, I was going to say maybe they thought I was on tier, but I literally just added Visus Starfrost. Granted, some tier limit decks do play Visus, but I think it's much more common... Oh, the Soul Drain here, by the way, is going to negate my Mannadium Meek. Soul Drain is like Skill Drain, but for the Graveyard and Banish. There are a lot more Mannadium decks on Pearl Rhino than there are, tier decks on Visus, though. I'm going to Baron the Soul Drain, by the way. I don't need my Graveyard, I don't think, necessarily, but... my opponent only has 1 more back row, like face down, so I already know I can use the Baron Omni on that, it's just a shadow imprisoning mirror anyway. So yeah, I figure I'll pop the floodgate that's already face up, and then I can just negate the one that's face down and deal with both of them. Or not really have to worry about it either way. So, alright, Lightheart's going to add the Reichphobia, going to activate our Reichphobia to grab Scareclaw Reichheart, which will then special to the field. That'll let us add back the Scareclaw, or add from our deck to our hand in the first place, the Scareclaw Rival. I could get to bring back Vysis Samsara. Now there's 3 defense mode monsters, so I can pop the face-down Zark on my opponent's field. And at this point, I totally forgot my opponent had paid half their life points. I really could have just swung in for lethal. My opponent just concedes anyway, but it's a little bit of a bad habit of mine. A lot of the times I forget that some decks actually pay life points, and I always assume my opponent's at 8k. So if you ever see me seemingly unnecessarily style on you, I probably just didn't look at your life points and assumed you were at 8k. So, alright, we do have one more duel to watch. Let's go ahead and check that out. Okay, so in now breaking our kind of streak we've been doing here of all trap decks, now we're going to play against a Synchron deck. Could not be further from a trap deck, but I think we'll still do just fine here. This hand. This was the hand where I was kind of like, I feel like I was kind of overcooking. This is what I was talking about earlier in the deck profile, where sometimes I'll open a hand like this, and I'm like, I just feel like paralyzed by choice. I'm like, there is so much I can do with this hand. Really, Reichheart plus Meek, that's enough to open to do like a full combo line, I'm pretty sure. But opening the Vysis as well is just like, wow. Especially love having the called by 4, the Max C here. Alright, we're going to use Meek to summon out another copy. I summoned it out at level 4. I think this was a misplay. I should have summoned it at level 2. I think I also went for Baron a little bit early here. But I did have the Arrival. See, if I had made the Meek level 2, I could have just gone straight into Umbra Terra here. Which I think is what I should have done. But because I made it 4, now I have to go into Lightheart instead. Lightheart for Reichphobia. We can Reichphobia. I'll add another Reichheart here because I've already used Vysis' effect. So summoning another one, or adding another one, doesn't really do anything. It doesn't do anything. It just gives my opponent information about what's in my hand. Because if I add a second Vysis and then summon the Reichheart and I only have 2 cards in my hand, well, of course, they know the last card is a just another Vysis there. Alright, so I'll use Baron to pop this Meek, summon out another level 4 copy, and then now I'll go into the Crimson Dragon. Yeah, I made the first Meek level 4 because I was thinking about going into Crimson Dragon, but then I didn't, you know, I failed to acknowledge that, like, oh yeah, I do that, like, much later, right? So, we should be good. Alright, gonna bring back the Vysis Starfrost here. Could have made the Shenyang, but I decided to go for the Elf instead. Because the Elf will allow me to bring back the Meek. And then now I can sync Meek and Reichheart here for Trisukta. Now Trisukta can bring back Meek. I can go into Umbra Terra, grab the Counter Trap, and set that up as well, as far as Disruption goes. And then I should still be able to make the IP here. Oh yeah, because I haven't used Lightheart's effect yet, so I can bring that back. Oh, but I also had another Astrolabe, too. Wait, why did I make the second Astrolabe? Oh, because you can't use a Link monster to make IP. That's why. I remember now. So yeah, did end up having to use both Astrolabe. Probably not necessarily. Again, I feel like I could have done this particular line more cleanly. But we still have a really good board. Oh no, I only ended on Baron plus Pater plus the reframing counter trap plus the ability to go into a format Apo. Woe is me. Right? It's like, it's fine. So they're going to set Subversion. I'll let them activate it first just to see what they target. Like, well, I guess they can't target IP because they have Elf, or I have Elf in play. But I'm like, maybe they'll target something inconsequential, but nah. They're going to target the Pater. I'll use the Baron on it because I already have the Reframing if I really need to negate another spell or trap card, and I have monster disruption for days here between Apo and Dispater. Synchro Overtake, I'm actually going to let resolve because it really only summons a monster, and again, I feel pretty confident in my ability to deal with monsters in this board state, and I really want to save the Reframing for another like powerful spell or trap card. A good counter, chain blocking rather, from my opponent here, chain blocking the Excel Synchro effect with Jet Synchron actually using the search effect to grab a junk monster. I'm absolutely going to negate that. I don't even want to know what they're trying to go for there. They end up synchroing for the Shen, moving to battle to get over my Appaloosa here. I do get one more use out of it, stop them from putting a card from their banished back into the graveyard, which is actually relevant for Dissipator, because they only have the one Max C banished, right? So if I want to negate with Dissipator, which I think I end up doing right here, yep, I got to make sure this Max C stays banished. Alright, they have one card left in hand. I have Mannadium Reframing. Excel Synchron, I'm going to just go ahead and negate that because I don't know what exactly they were going to do with it, but at this point, it's like their field is Stardust Synchron plus Shen and nothing else. They can't make a level 13 Synchro because those, you know, don't exist. So I figured they were probably out of place, and sure enough they were, and we ended up winning. So yeah, like I said, I want more practice. I want more practice with this deck so that way I can actually be confident when I have a ridiculous hand like this. But yeah, that'll do it for this one. Thank you so very much for watching. Let's go ahead and move now to our outro. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end of the video. That means a lot to me. It's also a great way to support the channel, so thank you very much in that way as well. If you're interested in supporting the channel in other ways, like the very special patrons that I am thanking here, you can do so by checking out some of the links in the description. One of those goes to the Patreon, where you can join these fine folk and support the channel that way. I do post daily content over on Patreon, so you do get something for supporting there. And if you're interested, I also have a coaching tier option as well. Details again will be on Patreon in the link below. Also in the description linked below is my Twitch page where I stream a few times a week. You can go ahead and check that out, follow or subscribe over there if you ever want to catch me live. You'll also find my second YouTube channel if you feel like subscribing over there to watch some of the Twitch VODs as well as some additional non-Yu-Gi-Oh related content that I make over there. Again, any of those links you want to check out is all a great way of supporting. But again, even if you don't do that, just watching was also a fantastic way to support. And once again, I have to thank you so very much. But in any case, this is Hexlex. I'm going to be signing out, and I'm hoping you have a fantastic day.